The night they announced the first curfew, I laughed at my mom for taping garbage bags over our windows. But when soldiers set up a checkpoint at the end of our street and the sirens started, nobody laughed anymore. It came on a Monday, 6 Humvees rolling down Orange Avenue, slow like they owned the whole city, headlights off, guns out. My neighborhood used to be boring. Cops breaking up block parties, old ladies fighting about garbage bins. Now, everything smelled like diesel and fear. I live with my mom and my little brother Josh. Dad's been gone since I was 8. Josh always asks when he's coming back. I stopped asking years ago. That night, Mom hugged Josh so tight he started to cry, and then she turned off every light and made us crawl to the bathroom. She said, "Whatever you hear, you stay away from the windows, understand?" I didn't. But I nodded anyway. In the morning, the rules were taped to every door. Big block letters, ugly red ink. Stay indoors after dark. Do not open windows at any time after sunset. Do not respond to sounds outside. Cooperate with authorities. Nobody explained why. The news didn't say a thing. Just showed reruns of old sitcoms and army guys giving the same speech every hour. Stay calm, stay safe. We're here to protect you. I kept thinking about that. Protect us from what? At first, everyone went along. Mrs. Thompson next door stopped gardening. The Tanners covered their pool. Our school didn't reopen after spring break. Even Mr. Collins, who swore he'd never let the government tell him what to do, duct-taped his windows and called it common sense. Monday became martial law Monday. They shut off the Wi-Fi. Drones started buzzing overhead, dropping leaflets with more rules, more threats. My phone died one night, just dead. All my friends vanished from the group chat. When I tried to call, it rang forever, or I got that weird static. Josh kept asking if he could play Xbox. Mom kept saying later. I started noticing the mailman never showed. Dogs stopped barking after sundown. And at night sometimes, you'd hear things outside. The crunch of gravel, a voice calling your name or tapping on the glass, soft as a whisper. We stopped looking outside. That's when the silencing began. Phones died all over. People vanished. The army put up blackout curtains on every house. If you looked too long at a soldier, they'd just glare back. Some nights you'd hear boots on pavement and a woman shouting. My friend Mason lived 2 blocks over. He told me he saw men in white suits dragging people out of the Miller's house. He said they put them in the back of a van. After that, the Miller's dog howled for days. Then it was gone too. Nobody wanted to talk about what was happening, but everyone felt it. At school, when we still had school, the teachers told us to keep journals, write our feelings down. But the pages just filled with rumors. My uncle saw a monster. The army is kidnapping people. There's poison in the water. The city felt like it was shrinking. Every night, fewer cars on the road, more houses dark. And always, those rules. I'd sit by the covered window and wonder what would happen if I opened it just an inch. Would something reach in? Would the army shoot me? Or would I just hear more voices, whispering things I didn't want to know? The streets emptied except for one man. I watched him through a crack in our window one night just before curfew. He walked right down Orange Avenue, slow, like he was the only one left alive. He was screaming, not words, just raw sound. Soldiers shouted at him. He kept walking. One grabbed him, slammed him to the ground. The others dragged him away out of sight. After that, I never saw him again, and no one talked about him, like he never existed. Like the world was already forgetting its own people. After that, things got stranger. The army started breaking down doors at random. If you had your lights on, you got a warning. Twice you vanished. Our neighbor, Mrs. Lee, gave us extra duct tape and told us, "Don't trust anyone who knocks after dark." She looked tired, scared, like she hadn't slept in days. One night I heard her screaming. I wanted to help, but Mom wouldn't let me leave the bathroom. We stayed there until morning. When I looked outside, her house was dark. All the windows were broken. No one was left. That's when my group stopped obeying. I met up with Mason and two others, Taylor and Bree. We started covering our own windows with anything we could find: mattresses, cardboard, tinfoil. Mason brought a baseball bat. Bree said she had a knife, but I never saw it. We found a way to jam the front doors so it couldn't open from the outside. Someone, I think Taylor, smashed one of the surveillance cameras the army had put up on our street. We only talked in person, no more phones. We didn't trust the silence. Mason's older brother Chris used to be in ROTC. He taught us how to fight, or at least how to not die if someone grabbed you. If you get pulled, he said, go for the eyes. I joked that I'd rather just run, but he didn't laugh. This isn't a joke, man. They're not here to help. I didn't know who they were anymore. Army, neighbors, the voices outside. All I knew was that every night I taped over the cracks in my window and waited for morning, because the only rule that mattered, the only one that made sense anymore, was this: never, ever open the windows after dark. That was the last week anyone pretended things could go back to normal. By then, the air smelled sharp and metallic, like rain on old pennies. We only left the house when the sun was bright overhead, never after sunset. Food was running out. Josh kept asking for pizza, and Mom kept giving him cereal with powdered milk. Nobody got sick. Not with anything normal, anyway. It started slow, like everything bad does. First it was the nights. Strange sounds outside, something scraping against the siding or a thud against the fence. Sometimes I'd hear voices calling my name, but I'd look at Mom and she'd just shake her head. Don't answer, don't move. It got worse when the power started cutting out. You'd wake up sweating, sure you heard someone breathing just outside the wall, and once I heard giggling. That was worse than the screams. Then came midnight. I always felt it before I saw the clock, like a weight pressing on my chest. I'd lie awake in my room, staring at the red numbers, every muscle tense. Some nights it would be quiet, but other nights we'd hear something break into a house down the block, windows shattering, sometimes a scream, sometimes just silence. Mom would hold Josh tight, whispering that it would be over soon. But the worst part was the silence after. You'd listen for hours, trying to hear if your neighbors were still alive, if anyone would make it to morning. One night, I saw shadows moving outside, not people. Too tall, too thin, arms wrong, legs bending backward. They moved in clusters, always in the darkness between streetlights. They'd stop, tilt their heads, and sometimes one would press up against a window and just stay there, like it was listening. I watched one for almost an hour before it melted back into the shadows. I couldn't sleep after that. Disappointment was heavy. With that, none of us could. Mom started putting chairs in front of the doors. We slept in the hallway, every night, under a pile of blankets with a baseball bat between us. We started running out of options. We couldn't call for help. The news said nothing. Soldiers stopped patrolling our street. One day, Mason came running, face white as paper. He said his dad was gone, just gone. No blood, no fight, nothing but a broken window and a weird, oily stain on the carpet. Taylor's mom vanished the same night. The rest of us tried not to talk about it, but we all heard the noises. We all saw the shadows. We all knew nobody was coming to save us. Mason said we had to get out. Bree agreed, but Taylor shook her head. Where would we go? The roads are blocked. They'll see us. But I didn't want to die sitting in my living room waiting for something to find me. We started talking about escape, drawing maps of storm drains and subway tunnels. The only way out was underground. The night we left, Mom kissed Josh and told him to keep quiet no matter what. Don't look back, she said. I promised her we wouldn't. We met Mason and Bri at the end of the street, all of us dressed in black, faces smeared with dirt, backpacks loaded with canned food and water. Taylor's hands shook as she pried the manhole cover open. The smell hit us first. Wet, rotten, like 100 dead things. Regagged. "Better than outside," Mason said, but nobody laughed. We dropped in one by one. The darkness was absolute. Flashlights flickered, batteries already low. Every sound echoed for miles. We tried not to talk, just kept moving, stepping over broken bottles, splashing through ankle-deep sludge. We made it to the old subway station before dawn. Everything felt wrong. There were signs, people had been here, graffiti, empty chip bags, an old shoe, but no voices, no sign of life. Bry stopped, holding up a hand. We heard it then, footsteps, soft and dragging, from deeper in the tunnel. Mason raised his bat. I gripped my flashlight so tight my fingers went numb. The footsteps stopped. Silence, then laughter, echoing too many voices all at once. We ran, didn't care which way, just away from the sound. We ducked into an old service room, slamming the door behind us. I counted everyone, heart in my throat. Mason, Bree, Taylor, me. But there was a fifth person. A girl standing in the corner, face turned away. Taylor whispered, "That's not possible." It was my sister who died 3 years ago. She looked just like she did the day she disappeared. Same pink jacket, same pigtails. She turned to me and smiled. "You're late," she said, and the world tilted. I couldn't breathe. Taylor started to cry. Bry pressed herself against the wall. Mason raised the bat. My sister just smiled wider. "Don't you want to come home?" she said. Her eyes were black. She took a step toward me. I couldn't move, couldn't think. Everything in me screamed to run, but I was rooted to the spot. Mason swung the bat at her head, but she vanished, just gone. The bat hit the wall. My ears rang. Taylor sobbed. Bree cursed under her breath. My heart wouldn't slow down. After that, everything got weird. I remembered my sister dying, the funeral, all of it. But now I remembered her being here, alive, just last week. Memories didn't match. Sometimes I'd see her out of the corner of my eye, always smiling, always watching. I stopped trusting my own head. Mason said he kept seeing his dad in his dreams, telling him to come outside. Bree talked to her brother on the radio, except her brother had been gone since the first week. Taylor said she couldn't remember her mom's face anymore. Our minds were slipping. We knew it. But we had to keep moving. The deeper we went, the more we saw things that didn't make sense. Walls breathing, shadows that moved when there was no light. Once, I swear I saw myself, dirty and tired, standing at the end of the tunnel, waving me over. Mason said, "Don't look at it. Don't let it talk to you." It wasn't just the monsters outside anymore. It was in our heads. Every time we talked about home, about what we lost, the memories got twisted. Mason forgot my name once. Bree started humming a song none of us recognized. Taylor started smiling all the time. "Too wide, too bright. We're safe down here," she'd say. "They can't touch us here." But I knew she was lying. One night she looked right at me and whispered, "You should open the windows, just for a second." That's when I realized it wasn't just a physical infection. It was in our thoughts, our memories. I didn't know who I could trust anymore, including myself. We barely slept underground. Every few hours something would bang on the pipes, or we'd hear that scraping laughter echoing down the tunnels. Mason started picking at his own hands until they bled. Bree snapped at everyone for no reason. Taylor hummed under her breath, rocking back and forth, always staring at the rusted door like she was waiting for someone to come through. I kept thinking about my sister, alive, dead, somewhere in between. I didn't trust my memory. I barely trusted my own voice when I spoke. One morning, we climbed up through a grate and found ourselves in the middle of an abandoned strip mall. The world outside looked wrong, like a bad copy of our old life. Stores gutted, glass shattered, Sun beating down, but nothing felt warm. We saw graffiti everywhere. "Don't open the windows, we see you," and, most chilling, "Help us," written in something that looked like dried blood. There were others hiding in the ruins, survivors like us, but harder, meaner, suspicious. Some waved us over, some pointed guns. We tried to blend in, moving from shadow to shadow, following the old train lines out of the city. Every once in a while we'd see the army. Black vans, soldiers in helmets and body armor, faces hidden behind mirrored visors. They weren't looking for survivors. They were dragging people away. Anyone they found. Watched them take a kid not much older than Josh. His mother screamed until her voice broke. They never came back. Rumors spread fast. Some people said the monsters couldn't go out in the sun. Others said the infection could only spread if you let them talk to you. Someone told Mason about a resistance group hiding in an old school. We didn't trust it, but it was better than starving alone. The closer we got, the more the city burned. Fires set by survivors trying to flush out the monsters, or maybe just trying to make it through another night. Nobody cared about rules anymore. People smashed government loudspeakers, tore down signs, firebombed checkpoints. The army shot back. Sometimes you couldn't tell the soldiers from the monsters. At the school, the survivors gathered every night, planning, arguing, sharing food and bad news. They had a radio rig, and one of the tech guys said he could get a signal past the blackout. We knew it was risky. Every time someone broadcasted, the army closed in fast, but we were desperate. We needed the world to know what was happening, what the rules really meant. Bri volunteered to do the first broadcast. She wanted to talk about her brother, about the dreams and the voices, about how it wasn't just a disease but something that could get inside your head, twist your memories, rewrite your life. She made it through maybe 5 minutes before the signal cut out. Then came gunshots. Soldiers raided the school. Chaos. I saw Bree go down, blood spraying from her shoulder. I dragged Mason and Taylor out the back while everything burned. We lost people that night. Good people, scared people, people with names. Bree didn't make it. Neither did half the kids who helped her. We barely escaped into the streets, running blind, hiding wherever we could. Mason wanted to go back for her, but I held him down, hand over his mouth until the gunfire stopped. Taylor didn't speak for hours. We just kept moving. Somewhere along the way, Taylor grabbed my arm. "It's not enough to survive," she said. "Someone has to tell the truth." We got another chance a few days later. The resistance hijacked a broadcast van, patched the signal out on every emergency frequency. I didn't want to be the one to speak. I was scared. But Mason was worse, so I did it. I told the world what happened. The monsters, the rules, how you can't trust your own memories, your own friends, how the city was dying and nobody was coming to save us. I don't know how much of it got through. The signal cut out halfway. But I kept talking, even after the static started, just in case someone was listening. That night, we watched the city burn from the rooftop of an office building. The smoke covered the stars, sirens blared everywhere, fires glowed on the horizon. I held Mason's hand tight. Taylor sat beside me, humming that strange song, but her eyes were clear now, finally. I knew we weren't the same people who'd started this. We were harder, scarred, but alive, for now. Morning came. The army was gone, or maybe they'd been overrun. The city was quiet except for the wind rattling broken glass. Survivors drifted out of hiding, blinking in the daylight, bandaged, limping, hugging strangers. I knew then it was my turn to lead. Someone had to keep the truth alive. Someone had to make new rules, rules that made sense. I stood up, wiped the grime from my face, and looked out over what was left of my city. The monsters were still out there, but so were we. And as long as we remembered what happened, as long as we kept warning each other, we had a chance. I whispered the rule one more time, so I wouldn't forget. Never ever open the windows after dark.